Welcome to the 5th Annual Hearts and Hands Conference. My name is Jen Lyle, CEO of Safe Care BC. I want to first start off by recognizing that this has been a challenging year for everyone, but especially those of us who work in the continuing care sector. It's been tough sometimes. You may have felt afraid. You may have wondered some days why you're still working in the sector. You may have felt some days that you just couldn't do enough. Maybe that you weren't enough. You may have also had moments of joy, moments of laughter and humor, moments of gratitude. Whatever your experience has been, know that you are not alone, and know that you are more than enough. You are the hearts and hands of our continuing care sector, and you deserve to be recognized and celebrated. That's why this year at Safe Care BC, despite everything that's happened, we felt it was vitally important that we found a way to make Hearts and Hands happen so that you have an opportunity to learn, to be inspired, but most importantly of all, to be celebrated. So that's why this year, things are a little bit different, and maybe it's more an unconference than a conference. But nonetheless, I want to extend a warm welcome to this year's Hearts and Hands Unconference, and I hope you enjoy it. And it gives me great pleasure to lead into our first presentation, the wonderful Michelle Cederberg, Energized for Excellence. So once again, welcome to Hearts and Hands, and a sincere thank you on behalf of myself and everyone here at the Safe Care BC team for the work that you do. Thank you.
In 2009, I met a man who, well, there's no other way to put this. He rocked my world. I was single at the time, but it's not about that. I'd had a good year in business and a bad year in my relationships, and so I decided that I would take the month of July and go and find myself in Europe. I was 40. Now, finding yourself in Europe is normally the domain of 20-somethings, and when they do it, they sleep and party their way across the continents. When 40-year-olds do it, they eat and drink their way across. My version of eat, pray, love was eat, drink, and pray my pants still fit at the end of the trip. I had croissant and café au lait in France, and beer and bratwurst in Switzerland, and pizza and pasta and prosecco in Italy. It was a foodie's dream. And it was there in Italy that I met this man, and let me tell you, he was extraordinary, tall, athletic, handsome, a hunter and gatherer of sorts, the strong, silent type. His name was David, chiseled, literally. And he changed the way that I think about excellence, and not for the reasons that you think. David, carved back in the 1500s, almost did not come into being. The statue that now stands 17 feet tall in the Galleria dell'Accademia was actually abandoned by the first two sculptors who took on the project. The stone that would later bring forth this masterpiece was abandoned for over 25 years before the powers that be said, we need to find somebody to finish that project. They interviewed would-be sculptors, including Leonardo da Vinci, who turned the commission down, and it was a young sculptor by the name of Michelangelo, only 26 at the time, who said, give me a crack at it. I don't know if they were desperate to get the project done or they viewed potential in him, but they gave him the commission, and within 2 years, the masterpiece that is David emerged. Now, I don't know if this is your idea of excellence, but if it's not, then you know that you've witnessed excellence in something else or in someone else, in art or music or in athletes or in your coworkers or your family members or in yourself, because it's in every single one of us. Michelangelo said, I saw the angel in the marble and I carved until I set her free. He believed that every stone had art in it, and it was the task of the sculptor to release that beauty. And we're all like that block of stone. We all have excellence within us. We just have to carve to get it out. And yes, we're going to get at it through hard work and focus, to be certain, but we're also going to get at it more readily if we believe that it exists in the first place. Excellence. I want you to think about your own excellence. Because as caregivers, as people who are taking care of everyone else and everything else before yourself, more often than not, you won't be thinking about, oh my gosh, I am so amazing at this. And if you do, I want you to keep on doing that. But I want to ask that question today. My name is Michelle Cederberg, and I'm very thrilled to be sharing a little bit of time with you every single day throughout the Hearts and Hands Conference with inspiration and information to help you take care of yourself and be better in everything that you do, because the work that you do is so vitally important. So let's talk about that excellence. If I asked you the question, how does excellence already show up in the work that you do? I'm hoping that you can write a long list of all the things that you are amazing at. Now, if I asked you to say those things out loud to your coworkers, would you be able to do that? Oftentimes I'll share that question to audience members, and I'll often get I don't want to talk about myself. I don't want to expose what I believe is awesome about me. People might not think that that's awesome. And here's the challenge. It's always easier to point to a coworker or friend and say, you are amazing at this. But it's a lot harder for us to stand up and boldly say, I am amazing at this. I want you to really think about that. I want you to practice that. Because as humble Canadians, as grateful caregivers, as people who are kind of behind the scenes taking care of everyone else and everything else, you will tend to, and this is my guess, if somebody gives you praise, you will dismiss. You'll just let it go. You'll say, that old thing, or, oh gosh, it was nothing. Now, if you're the type that stands up and says, heck yeah, I'm amazing, I want you to keep doing that. Because we tend to, dismiss and discount and deny the great things about us. But excellence, if we want it at higher levels, starts by being able to own, yeah, I am good at that. Yeah, I am a really great healthcare aide. Yes, I am the only one that can get Mr. Jones to eat his lunch. Whatever it might be, start thinking small if it's hard for you to come up with those things that you're excellent at. Now, when I ask that question to audiences in person, I will always get a handful of people who absolutely own their excellence all of the time. I wish I could ask you right now, is that you? If you've got a chat function right now, you can put it in or say, heck yes, that's me. Keep doing that. And if you're not and you need practice, here's what I want you to start doing this week. When somebody gives you praise for a job well done, my gosh, you did such a great job with that project, or you did such a great job with Mrs. Henry, I want you to look that person square in the face and say, I know. I rock. And just own it. Now, if you're cringing, thinking, oh my gosh, I could never do that, fair enough. You might want to try it with somebody that you know and trust just to see what kind of fun response that you get. It's usually good for a laugh. But if you're not comfortable with it, if somebody gives you praise, you start by saying, thank you. And then in your head, you can go, I know. Just own it. The reason why that is so important is because when we own our excellence, it provides a strong platform for us to build to higher levels. Because I know that every single person watching this video, yes, you, aspires to higher levels in some part of your work or your life. And if you can think about that now, what are the things that you want for yourself in your work and with your family and with your health and your life and your career? What are you aspiring to? Because when we strengthen that foundation for excellence, we are more likely to give ourselves permission to go seeking those higher levels for ourselves. Own your excellence. Own it at higher levels. It's an important thing because as healthcare aides, the work that you do is so vitally important. When you put your hearts and hands into the work that you do, you are changing lives and you are improving people's lives at high levels. And I know that, especially through COVID and even before that, the work that you can't always be easy. It's not always easy to be in the environments that you work in long-term care with seniors that are ill and passing away sometimes. And, you put your hearts and hands into the work and sometimes it's hard. It's such important work, and that's why I'm sure that you do it. And to just be able to trust that the work that you do is so vital, that should be hopefully enough to get us through our day. It's not always the case, though. I want to share a bit of a reminder, because the work that you do is hard work. I worked in long-term care for 4 years, in the Yukon at Macaulay Lodge and Thompson Center, I was a recreation attendant. So I got to do the bingo, bowling, bus trips. And it was because of you, the healthcare aides, that I was able to do that job better, because it was you who helped get the residents ready to come to all the programs. Now, all of the things that I witnessed in my 4 years is that sometimes, we'd all have our residents or our patients that knew us and loved us best. You know what I'm talking about. There's the difficult person who you seem to have a way with, that you can help through whatever challenges of the day they're dealing with, or somebody who won't allow anybody else to help them with certain things. There was a gal named Marilyn who had MS on our ward, and I was one of the few people who could help her during mealtime where she wouldn't get angry at them. And we do what we can in these small ways and recognize every single one of those connections as your unique brand of excellence. Michelangelo said, if people knew how hard I worked to get to my mastery, it wouldn't seem wonderful at all. More often than not, we look at people who are doing amazing things and we're thinking, oh, it just comes naturally. But Michelangelo took over 2 years to create the masterpiece that is David, likely with cuts and bloody hands through all the fatigue. It took him over 4 years to create the masterpiece that is the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, and he worked in a scaffolding in a tight space in positions like this that he described as torturous. The end result would have us believe that it came naturally, but anything that we do with excellence has a story that led up to why you are able to show up and do the work that you do. Own that excellence. There are literally hundreds of replicas of David all over the world. There are 2 full-size replicas of David in Florence where this original resides. One up on the Piazza di Michelangelo on the hill, and one down outside the Uffizi Gallery in the town of Florence. Both were cast from the original, and both of them are extraordinary in their own way, and yet I stood for 2 hours, almost 2 hours, and paid €15 to get inside the Galleria to see the original, and one would wonder why. But I will tell you, if any of you have seen the original, I'm guessing that you will relate to what I'm about to say. When I turned the corner and saw David standing 17 feet tall on the stand that was created for him, I literally gasped at his beauty. It's an extraordinary piece of art. And I believe that the original inside the Galleria had that impact on me, and has had that impact on so many hundreds of thousands of people who have witnessed him over the years, because this is the only version that Michelangelo actually laid his hands on. This is his masterpiece. What's yours? When you think about all of the hearts and hands that you touch, when you think about all of the ways that you put your impression on the work that you do, what's your masterpiece? How are you showing up every single day? And what can you do in small ways to own the excellent work that you are doing? I'm hoping that this will serve as a small reminder that you are such an essential service before COVID, during COVID, and far beyond. The residents and patients in your care homes need you, and certainly the work that you do is bettering the lives of not only the people that you work with, but also the people that are surrounding you in their various roles, the nurses, the doctors, and the families. So thank you on behalf of the Hearts and Hands Conference and Safe Care BC. My name is Michelle Cederberg, and I am going to be visiting you every day with a short 10-minute or less segment. Tomorrow, I am going to be coming at you with how to fit in health in your busy schedule. It's not as challenging as you think. And stay tuned all week long. Use that app to your benefit and have a lot of fun this week. You're doing such wonderful work for the facilities in BC, so I'm sending my love out your way, hearts and hands, and I will see you again tomorrow.